Hi, and welcome to Prepping Essentials. Regular viewers to the channel might have seen a video that I made only last month about the top 5 things to prepare for in 2019. In that video, I said that one of the more likely risks which I'm preparing for is an economic collapse, similar to that which the entire world experienced back in 2008. Well, if you keep an eye on the news, then lately you might have seen a few warning signs that we could indeed be heading for another financial crisis or economic collapse. So let's find out. Financial markets have seen some volatile trading over the last few months, as traders watch the escalating trade war between China and the United States. Investors fear that the current spat between the world's two largest economies will cause yet further strains on an already weakening global growth rate. The US-China trade war is not just affecting US and Asian stock markets, it's also impacting in Europe, where EU economies are already struggling with poor growth rates, political turmoil, and the potential loss of a significant chunk of its financial support if the UK does indeed leave the European Union. The EU's biggest economy, Germany, shrank in the second quarter of this year, and it now hovers on the brink of a full-blown recession. This week, a new financial crisis emerged in Argentina, and political tensions in Hong Kong continue to grow, adding more to the list of the current global concerns. However, in the past few days, we've seen the emergence of another and potentially more worrying financial crisis. This week, the bond markets have issued recession warning signals which have not been seen since the global financial crisis of 2008. It came after returns yielded by the 10-year US Treasury bonds fell below the 2-year bond yields for the first time since the last financial crisis more than a decade ago. The phenomenon, known as yield curve inversion, was also seen in UK bond markets for the first time since the global financial crisis in 2008. It's worth mentioning that in the US, such yield curve inversions have preceded, and therefore predicted, the last 9 recessions dating back to 1955. On receiving this news, the financial markets went into a little bit of a panic, and on Wednesday, substantial share price falls were seen in the major financial markets of London and New York, as well as across other markets in Europe. Meanwhile, oil prices, which tend to reflect the strength or weakness of global demand, also took a hit, and Brent crude slipped by 4% to less than $60 a barrel. In New York, the Dow Jones slumped by 800 points, which is 3% of the market. That was its biggest one-day drop so far this year. And London's FTSE 100 index also closed 1.4% lower. Asian markets have followed suit overnight on Wednesday, with markets in Japan falling by 1.7%, while Australia's markets dropped by 2.7%, and as the Western markets reopened on Thursday morning, the decline has continued. The economies of countries across the world are already struggling with little or no economic growth. More and more companies are finding that customer orders are dropping, which is causing them to cut back on production, and it'll eventually lead to them cutting back on spending and, of course, cutting back on the numbers of staff that they employ. Europe has already seen significant job losses been announced this year as companies strive to cut costs and improve profit margins. The levels of national debt of countries across the world has continued to grow since the last financial crisis in 2008. During the last crisis, average debt levels for the world's more advanced economies stood at around 76% of their GDP. Today, it's in excess of 100%, and it continues to grow. Personal debt in these countries has also continued to grow, and it's in real danger of getting completely out of control. Stock markets work in cycles, so some fluctuation is normal, and as I've pointed out in previous videos, major recessions normally occur every 10 years or so, and with the last major recession being in 2008, we're clearly in a period where a major recession is now overdue. Given the economic turmoil over recent weeks and the increasing number of warnings by people who have an accurate track record in these things, I would suggest that there is indeed a high chance of a serious financial crisis or economic collapse sometime this year. With that in mind, it's only prudent for us to prepare accordingly. You should take the time to top up your supplies of food and water, and if you've not already done so, take the opportunity to brush up on your gardening skills and to set aside stocks of seeds so that if prices rise, you can grow your own food. Make an honest evaluation of your financial situation and do what you can to reduce your debt and to build up a reserve of cash. Bearing in mind the fragility of the banking system and the potential for governments to freeze access to currency withdrawals in times of crisis, I'd suggest you don't put all of your savings into your normal bank account. Hopefully, the warning signs will not result in another global financial crisis, but if it does, your preparations will help you and your family to weather the storm. If all goes well and nothing happens, your preps won't be wasted. You can still eat the food and you can still spend the money that you've saved up. If you do prepare, you'll lose nothing, but if you don't prepare, you might just lose it all. Well, that's it for this video. I do hope that you found something in there that was of use to you. If you did enjoy the video, please do click on the like button and also feel free to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. As always, I do welcome any comments, questions or suggestions you might have. Do you think that there's a high chance of a financial crisis this year or perhaps next year? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. But for now, thanks for watching and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.